All right, so my name is Stephanie Bennett. I am a professional development specialist here at CodeHS. I'm very happy to be here with you today as we continue on in our professional learning community. This is our third and final professional learning community meeting of the school year, and I hope you've been able to attend previous sessions. If not, that is totally okay. We welcome anyone and everyone to learn about AP CSA in this professional learning community, which was the brainchild of one of our teacher trainers, Kim Hansen, and I'm going to let her introduce herself now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kim Hansen. I live in Washington, teach computer science. I'm excited to be here today, and I really wanted to be able to talk with people that teach the same thing I do, because I am the only one in my school and almost the only one in my district teaching computer science. So I'm excited to talk with all of you today.
Thank you, Kim. Yes, so it is one of those things in the computer science world that frequently computer science teachers are the only computer science teacher in their building, and that can get lonely. And that was why Kim had this amazing idea to start this PLC. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sharing. This PLC is all about sharing best practices, sharing ideas, collaboration, and just checking in, building our community of practice and checking in with each other. And so I've put up here a QR code, and also we'll drop a link in the chat here for this document. And this is where we'll keep notes today. So if you have a resource you would like to share on one of the topics that we cover, or if you want to just take notes for yourself, we're gonna use this doc as a note keeping place and a collaboration place. And so I'll put this link in the chat again. And Ruben, I don't think we can put images in the chat. So I don't think I can get the QR code in the chat. Sorry, it's up on the screen. So all the sharing today in this doc, I will post this as we get closer to the topics that we're going to share on. But for now, our goal is, like I said, to foster a collaborative environment where AP CSA educators can share ideas, resources, and assessments and discuss test prep strategies, which we've kind of passed for this part of the school year, but we're going to recap how the test went for you and your students today, and also talk about updates to the CSA course. So for the first bit of our time here together today, we have some guest speakers, and normally we just go straight into breakout rooms and we do lots of collaboration. But today we wanted to share with everybody information on the updated CSA course for the 25-26 school year. So we're going to spend some time on that with our resident experts, Dave and Christopher, and we're going to have you give you time to ask questions about the updates and CodeHS's course. And then we'll get into our breakout rooms if we have enough folks and we need one, or we will just all stay together and collaborate together on the 2025 FRQs, the College Board course audit process, and the question of summer homework, hot topic, as I hear in the CSA CodeHS Facebook group. All right, so please ask questions, please answer questions, please share your resources and join the conversation. And Dave, do you want to screen share? Do you need to like be in the platform and things, or do you want to just talk?
I'm gonna do it all on the platform.
Okay, then I will.
I'll screen share if that's okay.
Perfect.
All right, team. And I'm gonna close some windows because I'm on one screen. So if there's some questions in the chat, just interrupt me, CodeHS people, and we'll get going. So my goal here is to talk about what's coming new. So everybody just wrapped up their AP testing, and hope that went well for you and your students. And by way of introduction, I was an AP teacher in the Chicago area for 15 years in computer science, and have worked at CodeHS for 2 years, and have met some of you. I see the names and a lot of familiar ones. But what I want to share is, kind of a little aperture into what's going on for next year. And so what you're looking at is I'm in a student view of just a course section I built. And I want to share how the new AP CSA course is going to look. And internally, we call it Cortado. That's our internal name. And for those who have, worked with our Nitro course, which is another objects forward course like this course, and the College Board has stuck with their format, or worked with Mocha, a previous version, and that's still a popular course, but that's more procedure forward. Objects are introduced later. You're going to find this course, no matter which vector you come from, is going to be very different. So relative to the most popular objects forward Nitro course that we have today, you'll see 10 modules condensed down to 4. And so the course at first glance feels a little more dense. And so I'll just open up the first module on objects and methods, and you'll see that. And we're used to, as CodeHS teachers, a lot of you teach intro and AP CSP and AP CSA, and all the other courses are kind of structured where one lesson's about one day. And sometimes, depending on your class, you can rip through 2, or sometimes they'll move at a slower pace. But this is a lot different. These lessons are meant to align with the College Board lessons, the videos, the AP classroom, MCQs. So you can have one lesson with a lot of activity types like this first one that spans a lot of different content areas, from just introduction to algorithmic thinking all the way to a command line interface for inputting Java. So that's a lot, and you probably wouldn't accomplish that in one class day. And so that's one big change I just want to alert everybody to. But I do like the alignment to the College Board, because I know as a teacher, when I taught any class, whether it's physics or CS, when we were out of sync with the College Board, it made it harder to use the AP Classroom website in conjunction with CodeHS or other tools. That's one big change. And you'll see the modules, objects and methods, selection and iteration. And this is really more about kind of the procedural programming and control structures. And then class creation, which is then a much deeper dive into objects, constructors, classes, methods, and then data collections. And one of the things I'm going to highlight in data collections that's new is we've seen arrays and array lists before, but they swapped out for this upcoming year inheritance for using text files. And if you've used our Intro to Python class, or you've done programming in the private sector, you hate to lose inheritance, but you love seeing using text files, because as a software developer, most of your data doesn't sit in memory in arrays or variables. You're reading outside data sources, or you're having SQL to go interrogate a relational database and bring data in to an array or an array list, and then you manipulate it. So I think it's good because it exposes students to something they're going to see at the university level when they start working with third-party data. So 4.6, and the good thing is it's later in the year. It's not something you have to have ready to go in August, but it's going to be a module you're going to want to review later in the year before you teach it to the students. So those are the 4 areas. I'm going to talk about modules 5 or 6. They're not part of the Cortado course, or something I layered in that I want to talk about later. So those are the first 4 modules, structured a little differently, a little more dense. And the other thing I'll say, in addition to the text files, is this isn't a light polish on the Nitro course where we went through and kind of updated lessons and reconfigured them to match the existing course. This is a brand new build. And so as a result, you may see 1 or 2 activities that were very popular in Nitro, but you'll see many more activities, assignments, examples with very different use cases. So you'll see a lot more business use cases than more kind of just scientific. So I don't want anybody walking into this course next year going, oh, they just repackaged Nitro and things in a different spot. No, these are new slide decks, new quizzes, new lesson plans, like end to end, it's a new course. So I don't want to undersell that. And then I thought I could just show you kind of some of the things that have changed and that I like. And I picked lesson 1.9 a little earlier today and said, hey, I think I'll talk about this. And when I open it up, you see a video here. That's to be expected. I'm not going to go through the video or the slides, but I want to show you how they're surfacing computer science pedagogy that was a lot of times buried in lesson plans. They're surfacing up into assignments. And so I'm just going to open up the first example called methods or no methods. I'm going to Command Control tab it, pop it to a different browser tab here. So as I go into it, you see something new here. And what I always like to do is whenever we have multiple files, I just like to open them all and then just close this left pane. I like a lot of screen real estate. And when I see this new thing called investigate.txt, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And it's a way really for you as a teacher to have students journal and practice articulation and memorializing what they're learning, which I think is very helpful. I'm going to click on the example over on the right just to say, hey, what are we supposed to be looking at? And already this example is so much different than a lot of CodeHS examples. And I wish I could do a raise your hand and see all of you, but maybe you can react. When my students got to the example portion, they knew they could just hit the continue button and they could, dash from Incredibles, ricochet on to the next assignment and get right to the exercises. And I hated that. And so I would pause as a teacher and say, hey, I'm going to introduce some things in these examples or adjust the code, but then I'm owning the work. And so right away in this example, you see something different. And you'll have to think about teacher as a teacher, how you introduce it. But this example, this is introducing the methods. And it says, hey, you may not know what this method does. We haven't talked about maybe iteration. A lot of students will have seen this in a previous class or some of these methods. But what we're doing is reversing a string. So we have the string hello, and then we reverse it. And then we have the string hi there, and then we reverse it. Boy, that looks familiar. Then we get to our third string, greetings, and we reverse it. And boy, that looks familiar. So we have this, we're repeating the same, we're competing the same computational area 3 times. And so, we don't want to do that. And so, hey, what does it look like with methods? And so this example, the students have to interrogate the code. And it says, oh, now we just call this thing called reverse, pass it arguments, a parameter's fed in, and oh, here's our code block just one time. So students right away see the benefit. And then there's this investigate.txt file. And over on the right, it says, hey, you're not just hitting the continue button, reflect on what you just saw and maybe answer this. Now, these investigate.txt aren't graded. They aren't graded by the auto grader. They're a reflection point for the student, and the teacher. They don't have to have the students do it. They can project it on the board. You could have the students do it in a Google Doc, submit it through Canvas or Schoology or whatever your LMS is, but it forces the students to engage with the example. So, here, how do they compare? One has a lot less code, repeatable, and they would, put some things in here. So that's, what I think is kind of a big difference that maybe alters the cadence of how students would work. And so they're going to need some education on that. Here I'm again. I opened up the next example. So again, I like to open up both tabs, both files. Now this one, this has a lot more stuff in here, 7 questions. It's not a general discussion. It's looking like it's asking me for specific things. So let me get the code window open. Let me get the assignment on the right. What am I supposed to do here? And it says, okay, now I want you to answer these specific questions. So where is the method definition? Well, that looks like lines 10 and 14. Where do we call the method? Oh, that looks like on line 6. So you could have the students, oh, where do they call it? 10 to 14. I'm not going to do this all, but line 6, and you could have them walk through where's the argument? Well, that should be on line 6 with the method call, and they ask for the data type and the name. I don't remember what the name was, but it was an int. Oh, here's the name count. And they would go through, and by doing this, as they go through, they start, seeing some things. Oh, argument and parameter. Like, students always use those interchangeably. They're not the same thing. And so it educates them right away. Okay, you have to start talking about this and articulating and responding to concepts in the way you're going to see it reflected on the College Board test. And so that's another example of something that's a lot more interactive than what we've seen in the past. And I want to show you one more. I'm going to go to this exploration. And this exploration shows us leaning hard into what we call PRIM. And PRIM's CS pedagogy taught at many universities on how to effectively teach CS. And before students write, a lot of times it's easier to read the code, predict what's going to happen. That's just good scientific thinking, have a hypothesis, run the code. Was your prediction correct? Investigate, maybe make changes, modify, and then make your own program. So those are all the steps. And so I see that reflected, and you won't do everyone every time, but there'll be these new activity types, and they're exercises, but they're guided exploration. So when you see this word exploration, you're going to be guided through a PRIM activity. So I kind of go into this. I'll bring up the assignment, and it says, read through the program carefully and predict the output. And sometimes it'll ask you to record it and investigate that text, but sometimes it won't. And so here you're asked to reflect what's going to be the output. You guys pop it in the chat. Let me know if you're right. So there's a system.out.println, num times 15, 11 times 15. I got to do the partial sums, 10 times 15, and add 165, right? Do they still teach partial sums? Who knows? And then let's run the program. Let's see if we're right. So I'll go ahead and run the program, 165, woo, woo, so the kid's feeling good. Go back to the assignment. Now modify it. So now look at the way it's done. I would say most people would do their system out that println up here, and they would call the method. So it's saying it wants you to do that. It says, now we want you to return a value, not do a print statement. So maybe you'd want the student to type return here, and then up here, maybe they need to insert system.out.println, and the student can kind of figure that out and say, oh, there's multiple ways of working, have a discussion on, what's a better way, and, off they go and they're running. All right. So, and then when you look, there'll be additional exercises, and I'll open up the next one. The next one's called houses. And this could be my only ASCII art that I like. I've never liked ASCII art as a computer science teacher because all my art projects look like a psych ward experiment. But this one I like because it really shows the breakdown of kind of cascading and building like one set, one method, one what traditionally been a subroutine or function, and the reusability of that. So a key concept. So I'll pause there. The big takeaways are, hey, you're going to see this investigate.txt file. As a teacher, I think we need to continue to alter the cadence. Sometimes the kids fill it out. Sometimes it's group work on the board. Sometimes it's pair work. Sometimes it's in a Google Doc that they submit for a graded assignment on the side. And then we have this new activity type exploration. So I'll pause. Are there any questions on any of this so far?
We haven't had any in the chat. So folks, you are welcome to add questions to the chat. And I believe I have correctly allowed you to also come off mute to ask questions. So whatever works for you. If you're feeling brave and want to ask a question on air, please do. If you would rather ask your question in the chat, also allowed.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Right. My question is, how does this fold in with AI grading? I was seeing some tidbits that CodeHS has included AI grading in with its curriculum.
That's correct. And so AI grading will work with this course just like it does with other courses. So it'll look at the solution code, look at the assignment, look at the student work, and look at a rubric, if there's a rubric for the assignment, all those different things. And it'll suggest like feedback for the student. And if there's a rubric, a point value, like 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, or, you know, it'll actually have substantive feedback like, oh, you missed, a scanner. You're obviously supposed to do a scanner for this assignment, that kind of thing. So AI grading will work with Cortado, this course, for sure. All right. All right. There's one other thing. Stephanie, how much time do I have? Do I have 5 more minutes? Stephanie says I think you said take whatever time I need, but that's what I'm going to assume you said.
4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay. All right. The last thing I wanted to highlight was I put modules 5 and 6 here, and these come from an AP CSA cohort we're running. And one of the things I was guilty of as a CS teacher was under engaging with the community around me my first few years. And I decided the kids who I taught the first year or two of CS probably deserved their money back because I didn't learn enough from other teachers until I started getting involved with cohorts. And part of it was probably like some of you, I taught multiple subjects, math, CS, physics. And so I would always kind of backboil or CS, I got that down. And the reality was I could have done a better job. And so there's a knowledge base article. I'm going to share this in the chat here. So
I beat you to it, man. I beat you to it.
Oh, you are so good. Okay. So this knowledge base article talks about this new course that we just demoed here. And one of the things that I want to draw your attention to is you can look at a preview version of the course. Maybe not all the auto graders are 100% done and other things, and they're still fixing some tweaks and puts. But if you want, you can enroll in that preview course. Tomorrow night, Ryan is one of the developers, the curriculum developers of the course. He'll be speaking on the course. So if you want to see that, so very timely information. And the last is kind of the one I'm thinking most about right now because it's an extension of what we're doing here is how do you learn to continue to upskill and become a more effective teacher for your students? And the first 2 items are totally free. You should take advantage of that. This one is not, but I think it's worthwhile. And it's at the end of the school year. Maybe your school has some money and say, hey, put me in an AP CSA cohort next year. And it'll run, it'll be synchronous sessions with the group and asynchronous sessions. And the asynchronous sessions, you'll do some independent coursework. And it's not just moving through the course. One of the things that I want to show you is from the kind of planning course, there'll be like, this is the constructor. There'll be a little lesson overview. If you're new to the area, it's, hey, what are the big comprehension issues that students have when they deal with constructors? And then what are some creative teaching strategies? Oh, like students always confuse constructors and methods originally. Which one is this? Oh, I got that one right. Great. So you can project this, play a little game. Oh, I got that one right. Great. You can predict the output. There's some code examples and even some unplugged activities. I used to have students do this when they understood variables and constructors, like how you're ordering a pizza. And so somebody's going to make a pizza, an instance. And so it starts kind of breaking down what for some students can be a difficult concept into something that makes sense real world. And then also in this cohort are other activity types. So you're not just going to see content and written dialogue. There's videos where, hey, when you're teaching, you need to sometimes be in the sandbox with your students mob coding. And so this is an example of video where it's the instructor and the student coding, and they're coding together and they're solving together in front of the class. And I used to love having my class do this once every 5 to 7 days. And it was called collaboration coding. My students called it mob coding. So I've kind of adopted that name where we'd all throw in there. So you can pick up some good teacher pedagogical tips also on Parsons, which is kind of depuzzling. And the finally is will be activity types for you as a teacher to take, like this grade and respond. When you're in the cohort, not all the time synchronous, you'll be working asynchronous, and here will be a student assignment. And you're asked to reflect on that student assignment and how would you grade it and what did they get wrong? And, so if I run it, this is using the scanner class. I'll go ahead and run it, enter your name, David, 11. Ooh, it's asked me a fun fact, but didn't give me a chance to enter that fun fact. So that's a common mistake students make. So maybe they need to do an input dot next line, and so how would you grade it? How would you spot their error? So it kind of tests you as a teacher in a safe environment. And so I would consider looking into this. And I was a teacher. I know it's hard to get money from schools. And I always had to justify as a teacher. I used the free version for a number of years, CodeHS and cohorts. My principal got tired of seeing me in their office. But my big year was, and I have to tell this story, they told me I couldn't have CodeHS for the 3 teachers, the pro version. And I said, this is the year we're sending our football team to Ireland and I don't get the pro version of CodeHS. You're nuts. That's not happening. We're going to help these kids. And so you deserve that same help. So consider that. Somebody asked the cost. It's $1,450, $1,450. And my good friend TJ is running it. And he's another really seasoned AP CSA teacher. So that's all I have to say, team, unless there's any questions.
You did such a good job. They have no questions. You've answered them all.
Or they're all asleep. You never know, Stephanie.
No, not with you presenting.
Yes, that's for one person. Thanks, guys.
Dave,
Thanks for letting me join. Yeah.
Hey, Dave, doesn't the cohort count as a summer institute?
Yes, Christopher. Thank you. So for the College Board AP Summer Institute, we've been certified, adopted, our course is endorsed. We had to go through that whole process with them, not just for Cortado, but for this cohort. So thank you for reminding me. Yes, sir. And somebody asked for this page I'm looking at on the screen. I'm going to pop it in the chat again. So that knowledge base article will get you to the preview course, the webinar, 3 links into the cohort. All right, team.
Thanks, Dave.
I'll turn it over.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Kira, yeah, you got to check out the collaboration in the sandbox. Students have so much fun with it, and there are lots of different ways that you can use that in the classroom, not just the mob coding, but lots of ideas from our seasoned veterans. So let me go back and share my screen, and we will move on to our collaboration portion of this session. So we can't do breakout rooms because we are in a webinar. So we're just going to stay here. If you have time and can stick around for another half hour, we're happy to collaborate together now. And so now that Dave's done talking, if you want to introduce yourself in the chat, how long have you been teaching? Give us your name and how long you've taught AP CSA. If you want to grow your community of practice here, meet some new folks. Maybe you recognize a name from your local CSTA chapter. Reach out, ask for an email address. We are here to collaborate and learn from each other. And so for now, let's get some introductions in there. Your name, how long you've been teaching, and how long you've taught CSA.
Are we typing into the chat?
Yep, I think the chat will probably have to be
Yep.
it, since we have, I think, 20 people on the call. I don't think we can go round by round.
So right now, it looks like we can only talk to hosts and panelists. Is everyone a panelist?
That's interesting.
That should cover everyone. We promoted everyone to a panelist so they could participate. So that
Yeah.
should take care of it.
Oh, so everyone can see?
Yeah, I changed it to attendees can chat with everyone, so should be
Okay.
good. And then, oh, I see what you're seeing, Kim. So I hadn't changed panelists can chat with. Now I changed it to everyone. So you should be able to see everyone in your drop-down menu there. Thank you. Guys, I love seeing how geographically spread out we are. Kim is all the way on the West Coast. I'm in the Midwest. Got somebody from Denver. Love all of these introductions. All right, so first we're going to talk about FRQs. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put folks' names in the chat. And if you would like to come off mute to talk about FRQs, we're going to go in the order that I put your names in the chat. And so while I am typing here, Kim is going to share her thoughts first on the FRQs and just give her point of view while you're collecting your thoughts and I'm typing furiously. And then if you want to, you can also share your thoughts on FRQs. If you don't want to, you're free to pass.
Okay. So on the FRQs that came out for this year, I tried sharing them with my class and seeing if we could go through them. They were not excited about that idea at all. So I'm really curious to hear what other people did with that. On this slide, we have the link to download them in case you didn't have that. And then there were a few people that usually someone will like do a walkthrough with it. So there's a couple of people that did video walkthroughs for that. I tried showing a couple of those with my class, and they just tuned out like right away. So I'm curious what other people maybe do with that. My students that did the test didn't want to deal with it anymore. My students that did not do the test didn't want to hear about it. So what did everyone else do?
Thank you. All right, so Erin, anything you want to share about FRQs and how you use them after the test?
I'm kind of in that same spot. My class was about 80% seniors, and their last day of school had been the day before we took the exam, and so I was left. I only had about 8 kids left in the room once we got back, and they were all studying for other AP exams. So we did go through the FRQs. Like I said, there's, looked up the answers. This is my first year teaching it, so I'm still getting to know Java itself this year as well. I don't have a CS background, so that was we walked through an answer key and made sense to everybody.
Well, thanks for sharing that. How about Adam?
We didn't look at it much after the test. Kind of a similar situation. All mine were seniors, and so they just really had no interest in it after the test. of course we discussed the test like the day after, but that was really about it. We didn't use any of these.
Well, I appreciate the camaraderie where it seems like there's a through line here, but sometimes even if it felt like, oh man, I wish they would have been into it, even if that was the feeling you walked away with, at least you're not alone here. Balvier, anything you want to share?
At the same situation, more seniors and more AP examination there, so we didn't do anything after our AP exam for the CSA.
Thank you for sharing. And folks, I will say too, if you have an idea for something you want to try, maybe you didn't get it done this year, but you have an idea for how to use FRQs, please share that too. You don't have to stick to what you did this year. If you have an idea that maybe you want to try out next year, you want to, pose it to the group here for feedback, that works too. Chris, anything you want to share about FRQs?
Yeah, I mean, once the test is over, the class pretty much shuts down, right? And so I don't do anything with asking them that question. I do a lessons learned. I ask them to reflect back upon their learning over the past year. Did they feel prepared? And I actually have a series of Google forms that I have them fill out as a class. Did we spend too much time in a certain area, etc., right? As an example, I spend typically 4 weeks on student choice, and I let students work on projects that they want to work on during that time period. Is that too much time? Is that too little time? Another thing that I recommend, another thing that I go ahead and do is what would they recommend to students to be prepared for the actual day of the test? And one example is I'll typically have students say, hey, you should be ready to be dressed for it being a cold room, it being a warm room. They won't allow water except if you keep it on the floor. Those type of things, right? As for the FRQs, I run through 3 series of FRQs with them. The first 2, I give them to them as an assignment, but we do it as a test. So they act like it's a test. It's a quiet room. They go through and they have 22 minutes to do a method FRQ, and then we will pass that to the next table over, and they will use the study guides to grade each other's FRQs. We'll do that for the method class, array 1, array 2. Then we'll do that for another series. And then in April, 1 week before the test, I do a mock AP test. So I get one of the previous tests, both the multiple choice and the FRQs. They spend an entire week, 4 days, doing the test. And then on that Friday, I give them back the test. And then they have the weekend to grade it. And they fill that into one of the online graders and gives them back an approximate AP score. And they have 1 week basically before the AP test to fix anything that they can.
Yeah, that sounds like great resources. I might ask if you wouldn't mind sharing in our document here under the 2025 FRQ. I would love to if you wouldn't mind sharing those surveys that you give your students. I think other teachers might be really interested in seeing the questions that you're asking, not your student responses, just the questions that you're asking, and maybe they can use that in the future. Thank you for sharing. All right, then Gladys, anything you want to talk about? FRQs?
Well, I have almost the same experience. They did not want to talk about the after the test related to nothing coding. But then after a week, we cannot discuss some potential solutions for the FRQs. But the situation in my school is I did have majority seniors and few juniors, and they have a program that after the APs, they leave for the Aspire program for some kind of internship. They pretty much have a less than 30% of my class left after the AP exam.
Yeah, that is a huge shift in how you manage your classroom then, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. So even if I want to do assignment, I'm done previously because I knew already like majority of my class on AP CSA were seniors comparing to AP CSP, which I have more mixed juniors and seniors, majority juniors. So, but yeah, I'm open now to see suggestions and see what to do for next year.
Well, let's see if we can get some good ideas here. How about Jeffrey? Anything you want to share on FRQs? All right, I don't think maybe we don't have Jeffrey anymore. Julio, anything you want to share on FRQs?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, same dilemma as you guys, the other people too. Most of my juniors and some of my seniors are usually left, but or usually are going into like they're so busy. And what I usually do, especially before the seniors leave, is that I I have the same thing as I think Chris, if I'm not mistaken, is doing, but it's a different one. It's the opposite one. So I actually give them like, can I ask you to write a letter to the next batch of AP CSA students, and what advice should you give to them? Something like that.
Julio, I love that. Oh my gosh. That is an amazing idea. Please put that in our document so we don't forget
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Oh, love that. Love that.
Problem.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Jeffrey.
Greetings from Taiwan, by the way.
Sorry.
Greetings from Taiwan, by the way. It's
Oh, thank you.
7:44 in the morning here.
Well, thank you for waking up early for us.
It's okay.
All right. And Jeffrey did get us in the chat. He said his mic died. He only had the AP class for the second half of the year and was just trying to hold the class together to the end of the year. Yep. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hope next year goes more smoothly for you, Jeffrey. All right. So then next is Marian. Anything you'd like to share about FRQs?
Sorry. You hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, I have nothing to share. I had actually taken a break from teaching and I'm going back next year.
Oh, well, I hope you got
Yeah.
rest. I hope you were rejuvenated and feeling excited for next year.
I am. But I'm obviously taking these tips that I'm hearing.
Yes, yes. That's why we love doing that notes doc so we can all share our resources together. So,
Yes, thank you.
Ruben, anything you'd like to share about FRQs?
I'm a math teacher, 15 plus years, moved to computer science. I started intro and AP CSP. I didn't teach AP CSA. This year they are giving me AP CSA and free response questions. I had to look at it. I'm collecting all the information people are sharing. Hopefully it will be nice here. So wish me good. That's all from me. Regarding AP CSP, I know the pre-response question, they do it, the portfolio, that we can talk later, but CSA, I don't know. I'm going for the cohort also. Hopefully it will be nice. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Ruben. Yeah, we're here to learn. So I'm glad that you joined and we'll keep adding to that collaboration doc. Sandeep, anything you'd like to share about FRQs? Oh, Sandeep says listening only. No problem. Okay. Shannon also put notes in the chat for us. She has to leave. And so, I lost my list. Vish, anything you'd like to share?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So this is my third year teaching AP CSA. When I first started teaching, when I went to the summer institute, I heard that teacher was going to start FRQs like beginning of second semester. So I I followed that in my second year of teaching, and this year it has worked out very well because I have a small class of like 10 students. Most of them are juniors. They seem to be like, they seem to get the practice a lot in the class. And I think that's very important for them to keep practicing. My students don't really do any homework. If I assign them, they would just be there. So I have to make sure they do the work in class. And we have practiced about 5 years worth of FRQs this since January, and it has helped them get the idea of which question, even to which question to start off, and then go in an order, not necessarily from 1 to 4. And the other thing I want to add is this year, because we also had state testing, we didn't do the regular, the AP testing. We had a late testing. So I took the FRQs, the released, and the student actually paid a lot of attention to how to answer them, like they are taking the test for the first time. So it was an interesting experience. I think practicing early helps students more, for my students at least, and not assign them as a homework or leave it to them. Thank you.
That is very good advice. Thank you for sharing. It sounds like you did a lot of prep work before the test. And as we're hearing from the group, maybe the consensus might be that using release test questions as preparation right before the test is maybe a little bit more effective than waiting, using the released ones the same year after the test. It sounds like a lot of students are just overwhelmed at the end of the school year. All right. Well, Sonia, anything you'd like to share? You'll be our last one for this question as Nancy is hopping out.
Hi, Ms. Bennett. It's Dr. Sonia Mitchell, and I am excited to actually be in this group. Unfortunately, I haven't taught CSA since 2019, and there's a lot of changes as me being a AP CSP reader and a former teacher of that. So I will definitely weigh in and want to give major kudos to CodeHS, who I love and adore since 2016, when it was just getting started. And I have followed every since and every course. I can tell everybody that this is the best platform and one of the platforms that I recommend to all districts who are trying to get their novice or early, early teachers that's getting their feet wet into teaching CS or any AP course. I'm just thankful. I did put my information in the chat, and I do definitely want to collaborate as well. I will have new standards in 2026 because I'm one of the standards writers as well for CSPA. So pretty excited.
Thank you so much for being a CodeHS champion. I will say we didn't pay her to say any of that, but we love hearing your praise. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we have a few minutes left.
It looks like Aaron has something to share.
Ooh, sorry. Yes.
Hey, no, it was just a question. When talking through you were talking about what you do after when you were talking about with the FRQs, do we know our next year's FRQ is going to be pretty similar? That if we use this year's as practice for the next year, does that work okay, or do we expect them to be quite a bit different along with the curriculum?
Ooh, that is a very good question. And it looks like, is Dave still here? Did he leave us?
Looks like he might have left. I'm doing the Summer Institute this summer, so I'm going to find out. But that's what I would recommend, is doing one of the Summer Institutes so that you know what the changes are, if you can.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that hadn't even crossed my mind as we were approaching this question, but that is an obvious question to be asking. Yes.
They usually release, not to interrupt you, Stephanie, but they usually, like what they did with the CSP, because I taught that last year, 2 years ago when it first was new. Yeah, 2 years ago, not this year, last year. And they released a practice question similar to what the kids would expect. And we use that in the classroom, kind of like what you've been doing with the FRQs, preparing them for that. So they gave some release questions that you could utilize.
Yeah, and the new CED is out too, so.
But it wasn't until like about 2 months before the test. So it took a while before they released those.
Yes, that is true. They were not very nice with us for CSP.
I just want to add here, I've also been using the AP Classroom, which has tons of questions on multiple choice and FRQs. So if I want to look up what's coming, probably the AP Classroom would be updated and I would be looking at it as well.
Thank you for that reminder. Yes, and our curriculum works really, really well with AP Classroom from what I have heard. So definitely encourage you to check out that also. Kim, did you want to speak on, we've got like maybe 2 minutes left. Do you want to speak on what you know about the College Board course audit process?
Just one thing really quick that I learned that I didn't know is that you have to go in and add the course when you're doing a new course syllabus. That I didn't know. I thought my AP coordinator had to add something first, but you have to go in and add the course, then you do the course syllabus part, and then your AP coordinator goes in and approves it. Whereas if you already have a syllabus approved, your AP coordinator adds the course. So that's a little bit different that way. But once you add the course, it's pretty self-explanatory what to do, but there's links on this slide here of the CodeHS's knowledge base article, which is really good. Explains what to do. So,
awesome.
But their syllabus has been approved, so you can just choose CodeHS, and then you're done. You don't have to do your own.
Yes, that was a big celebration around CodeHS when we got approved, our course and our syllabus and all the things. All right, well, our last question was going to be about summer homework. Unfortunately, we do not have time to do another round of sharing on summer homework. However, if you have any resources, if you do have a strong opinion on summer homework, you can still add your thoughts and your notes and your resources to our Notepad shared doc. So Kim did a great job of scouring Facebook, our CSA Facebook group, which she is a member of, for some information. And Kim, did you want to recap this real quick?
Oh, yeah, I just put a summary there, but the main idea I think was that people like used to give homework, but not so much anymore. That was kind of the gist of what I was getting from people in reading that. And for me, like, I don't even have my class list, so it would be hard to give summer homework. So
I wanted to speak on the first bullet point, and Kim, that's an excellent point. I didn't even know what I was teaching until I showed up in August, let alone a class list for the next year. But I've almost exclusively taught in rural areas just because that's where I've lived. And that first bullet point is huge. When I was teaching, didn't even assign homework during the year for that reason. I just assumed the only time they had access to the material was in my classroom or at school. So that first point is huge, especially in rural areas.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing, Christopher. I love hearing everybody's various experiences and teaching backgrounds, and this collaboration only makes us better teachers. So for our wrap up, we are going to continue with our AP CSA PLC in the 25-26 school year. And we will be starting off with a couple possible topics. College Board course audit, just a reminder before the deadline, we'll get a session in and answer any questions the group might bring about that process. We potentially will talk about growing your computer science program. I am sure that having 10 students in your class is a luxury, but if that also comes with a risk of your class being canceled or combined with another prep, that just is a lot of work for you. And so maybe we'll talk about how do we get more students to take on this hefty coursework in CSA. Project ideas to mix it up for your students, and integrating AP Classroom with CodeHS. I mentioned earlier that those go pretty well together, but we can talk details in the fall. So if there are no other questions, I'll ask you to fill out a 2-question survey. We were wondering about how the timing, like the hour of the day timing, is working for you all. And so we just have a quick 2-question survey about what time is most convenient for you to meet for the PLC. We would ideally love to have like the same 20, 30 people coming for all 4 sessions throughout the year. I know schedules get busy and y'all are probably coaching robotics, and I know Kim does video game competition, and y'all are so busy. And I thank you so much for everything you do for your students and your community. But we would love to accommodate you as best we can in your schedule. So please fill out our survey. We are on the nose at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll wrap up. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye to everyone. It was so nice to meet all the different groups. And I'm going to start CSA this year. Hope it should be good. I'm connected with CodeHS all the time. Thank you, Stephanie, Kim, and Kristen. Bye.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
all.
us.